Killers are stuck in a broken meta, and if you're a survivor player, there's a good chance you've sobbed and weeped when a 99 gen is hit with pain res and deadmans for the 100th game in a row. Now, it may surprise you, but as a survivor main with thousands of hours in Dead by Daylight, I actually love seeing this. Like, genuinely, I enjoy seeing the same slowdown regression perks over and over. You probably think I'm insane, but please, hear me out, because I'll be spitting facts about problematic survivor and killer perks in this video. But anyways, to understand why I don't hate regression perks as a survivor, I first have to explain what I actually enjoy about Dead by Daylight, which is player impact. What I mean by this is the ability for every player in the game to make a meaningful difference at pretty much any point in the match. The most fun parts as a survivor are chase, team coordination, and using game sense to position. These actions can single-handedly make or break a game depending on how you play the situation. But on the other side of the coin, the least fun interactions are being hooked, slugged, and doing generators. These are aspects of the game that involve very little player input. And at this point, you may think I'm contradicting myself. Why do I love gen regression if I said I dislike doing generators? Well, because if you take away perks like pain res, what builds do you think killer would run instead? Well, you'd instantly see a large influx of perks like Spirit Fury, Enduring, Coup de Grace, and Dissolution. Because if killers aren't running any form of gen slowdown, then they'll have to speed up the game in other ways, most notably making chases shorter by using aggressive chase-oriented perks that will actively take away the fun part of the game, being chased by the killer. And don't get it twisted, this isn't some survivor main propaganda saying that chase perks have no counterplay, because they definitely do. But depending on the killer, the perk combo, in the situation, you often need near perfect positioning and prediction, and if you don't have that, you wind up in an unfun or even borderline impossible situation. For example, how can I, without comms, predict that Meg pre-dropped 2 pallets and activated Spirit Fairy Enduring, which turned my potentially fun chase into a 5-second interaction of getting out perked? Because at least in my opinion, as much as it sucks seeing a generator you worked on disintegrate right before your eyes, I'd rather hold left click on it a little bit longer than getting owned by perks you have very little chance of predicting or outplaying. Going back to what I enjoy about gen regression is that as a survivor, it actually puts emphasis and rewards good play. When going against a killer running a significant slowdown, first of all, it will make the game last longer, naturally allowing for more opportunities for survivors to interact with the killer, and also just having more decisions to make, which leads to more impact, which is what I enjoy about the game. Some examples of this are moments like if you should decide on a gen when the killer's running Ruin, or should you help a friend being slugged? Or maybe you're the last person to be hooked and the killer has a Grim Embrace. Should you try to take chase or should you commit to a gen? These are incredibly important decisions with immense impact due to regression perks. On the other side of the coin, if you go against someone like Kaneki with Blood Favor, and you're watching your whole team get shredded, what can you do? Like, what? Maybe look for the totem? But then you're sacrificing your gem pressure. It's just a sad situation to be in. So yeah, I kind of preferred the lesser of two evils, and I've ended up enjoying regression over chase-oriented perks. But maybe I have Stockholm Syndrome, I don't know. And while I did just rant about how frustrating killer perks can be, survivors are not exempt from poor perk design either. But before I dive into that, maybe consider subscribing. I just started doing DVD commentaries just like this one, and only have 69 subscribers, so it would help me out a ton. But with that shameless plug out of the way, let me grill survivor players too, starting out with Vigil. Because I really dislike Vigil, like a lot. In fact, I think it's maybe the worst designed perk in the game, just in terms of balancing, which kind of makes me sad, because for a long time, I was a Vigil enthusiast. But for whatever reason, on patch 8.5, they decided to giga buff the perk, and it's just horrible to play against now. For those that don't know, Vigil is a perk that makes negative status effects go away faster, and as a result, many people started using Vigil with exhaustion perks, you know, with the goal of losing exhaustion mid-chase to get repeated use out of perks like Sprint Burst. Now, I don't actually mind this, although it's frustrating at times, it's kind of whatever in my personal opinion. But when you start to think about it, this perk counters every negative status effect in the game, and that's where it becomes very problematic. Because every killer, perk, and add-on is susceptible to being completely nerfed by this singular perk. Clown's whole power? Well, now you're simply slowed for less time. Want to run a niche perk like Starstruck or Make Your Choice? Well, now you'll never be able to predict if someone's exposed because they may or may not have this whimsical ass perk that makes it impossible to know the timing of their statuses. And something I didn't mention, well, one player running Vigil can affect the whole team, because not only does it affect other survivors in a radius, it also lingers for 15 seconds, typically long enough to make the status effect go away. So now you have this one perk that is messing with the balance of every negative status effect in the game, with zero way to predict or counterplay this, because the Vigil has no activation, no cooldown, and no visible sign that it's actually in play until it's too late. This is particularly horrible in my opinion, because most status effect add-ons and perks are typically on the weak side, and pretty niche. So it feels pretty damn horrible when it's just nerfed and all of your value is gone, because one player is running Vigil. But luckily, Vigil is a pretty extreme example, because most of the time, the problem isn't with a singular perk, but only when it's combined with other ones, such as healing builds, which seem to be somewhat under the radar, but are a broken meta yet to be realized, and behavior seemingly isn't in the know either, because they keep adding more and more healing perks, which leads to some ridiculous healing speeds. But hey, luckily there are some killer perks to counter healing. You have perks like Sloppy Butcher. Oh, that's actually nerfed by Vigil. You have Leverage. Oh, it just got nerfed and it's kind of irrelevant now. Well, there's that one clown perk that only works within 32 meters on maps that seemingly get bigger and bigger every update. Yeah, there aren't that many options to counter healing builds, and pretty much every perk you have is going to be weaker than the actual perks that the survivors are running. And did I mention this problem is only getting worse? Because in the PTP patch notes, they're proposing adding 2 more broken healing perks. Yeah, I think that most healing perks individually are fine, but heal stacking is insane. Which, not to go on a side tangent, but I don't know how this is even happening, because a few years ago, Behavior hard nerfed every medkit and obliterated the once upon a time meta perk Circle of Healing because healing was becoming way too prevalent. Now it feels like we're heading there again. But truthfully, I could list so many broken and unfun perk and add-on combos on both Killer and Survivor, but I just wanted to share a few that were on my mind. If you disagree with anything, share your thoughts in the comments, I'll probably reply, but that's all for now. See you later, gamers.